What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. It is live full-time reaction to Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2 at Pittodrie. It was a massive game for us. It was the game in hand. We won it. I've got Stuart and Chris here with me to go over it. Stuart, you could argue this was the biggest game of the season in some ways. It seems like every game is the biggest game of the season, the way this has gone, but that was massive to get the points on the board. And we managed to do that. And actually, in comparison to some recent games, despite the fact it was a win by a 1-goal margin, it was relatively narrow. It was almost stress-free compared to some recent games.
Without a doubt, that was it was all about the result. But what was encouraging is there was better tempo for Celtic tonight, in spells, not throughout the game. We lost our control that we managed to establish early on, which was a bit disappointing. But I think in general, compared to other games recently, as you say, it was actually night and day, if I'm honest. Especially the fact that we started the game well. It's been a long time since I felt we really asserted ourselves for the start. And one thing that's pleased me about Martin O'Neill is I made the wholly incorrect prediction that I expected Schmeichel to play against Rangers, and he made a really bold decision for that game. And I think tonight, Sini Salo made a save that I don't think Schmeichel would have made. And how precious could that be at the end of the season? So credit to the gaffer for swapping when he needed to. And I just feel that in terms of the ebb and flow of things, he's getting the big calls right in terms of the starting 11. And even if that starting 11 doesn't necessarily produce, I feel he's picked the best players in terms of their form in the last game, sort of thing. Like Adamu played well against Stuttgart, then was Mince, you know. So, aye. Overall, though, I wouldn't say relieved. I would say a bit more energised than I've been with Celtic in domestic games recently.
Aye, Chris, I thought we started the game well. I thought the first 5-6 minutes we had a good purpose about us, a good energy about us. That's not always been the case recently. We've notoriously started games very poorly in recent weeks. We get the goal from the corner, a bit improvised with Scales hooking it over his head and Tierney putting it away. I'm impressed that I think Tierney's got 7 assists and 5 goals, which is a much higher return than from when he was here the first time. But a good start in the game, and you were just looking for us to control it and build on it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely take the start that we had, Paul. It's been a long time coming that we've actually started the game well. We scored the goal in the first 10 minutes of the game. We established a good foothold. I thought we put Aberdeen under some real pressure, and we were talking in the group chat that's the most tempo we've had moving the ball around early in the game, and I thought Hatate was instrumental in that fact. I think we'll talk about his performance overall. I thought he had a really, really strong game. So it was an excellent start to the game, as you say. Great improvisation from Scales from what was probably a series of poor corners that McCowan was going to go on to have tonight in the game. I didn't think his set piece deliveries were very good at all, and a great finish by Tierney to give us a great start in the game.
Aye, Stuart, we have said at times, in fact, we've said it a lot recently about Celtic and getting control of the games. I thought the start was much better, as I say. More purpose and energy about us. I thought against the ball we looked a bit better, but we did just lose it shortly after that goal in terms of the control. Aberdeen were getting into the box and they end up getting level through a penalty. I think it was a bit untidy from us defensively. We couldn't get it clear. It comes into the box. We managed to sort of get it half cleared back out to the left-hand side. It comes back in, and Scales motions to kick the ball clear, and Olisanya gets in front of him. I think it's soft. I think there's very, very little contact, but I do agree as well that it's clumsy for Scales, and Olisanya can probably read what he's trying to do, and he knows what he's doing by going down Olisanya. He's buying himself a penalty, and he did that. But I just thought we could have maybe avoided that in the build-up.
I agree, and absolutely everything that you said. I think it was soft. I think the interpretation of the rules now encourages players to seek contact and go down. It was a flagrant example of that. That said, And by the way, I have a bit of sympathy for defenders now because I'm not a very good football player when I used to play. And I was very much a no-nonsense centre-half type. And all that I had was the ability to go in and win the ball and then get to somebody better. And now the rules of football inhibit you if you're actually going in to win a ball. And so there's a bit of sympathy there. But if you're a professional football player, you have to adapt with the way the rules of the game do. Liam Scales gets it. He does just enough wrong to allow a decision to be made. But you're right. It came from us losing that early impetus that we had. Absolutely agree with you, Chris. Reo Hatate tonight. Where's he been, man? I think Reo Hatate has the ability. He can boss any game in Scotland, without a doubt. I remember his first half against Real Madrid. The Spanish commentators were like, I was kind of looking online in that, and they were like, Asian crack, like really, really raving about his performance because it was reminiscent of some of the great Spanish midfield performances at times in that game. Like it was control, it was asserting himself, and it was doing it with a bit of elegance. And he can do that in Scotland. It just requires him to be motivated and working cohesively as part of the team. That said, diving into that challenge had my heart in the roof of my mouth in the last minute. So it was a dodgy one. But
it was like slow motion, wasn't it?
Aye.
I think we were all. I couldn't believe we went for it.
No, I think that was more of a penalty than the Scales one in terms of the way that I read the game. Like,
well, there was no contact. If he touched him in any way, shape, or form, it was a penalty.
I thought he skiffed him. Like
no, I don't think there was anything in it.
No,
I don't think there was any real contact at all. Thanks for joining us live stream. You can get involved in the live chat below. You need to be subscribed to take part in that. We'll try and pick out some questions we go through. Chris is out and about somewhere in Canada, so I hope his connection's holding up for us. Chris, I think tonight Dane Murray was obviously scheduled to play the game, and he comes out with an injury just before kick-off. Benjamin Arthur goes in. What did you make of his performance?
I thought he was solid for a debut, Paul. I mean, I think that was a fairly solid performance. One of the things I really noticed was his communication was excellent, which is hard to do when you've not played, with your teammates. All you've done is really train, and you've come off the bench and played 15 minutes. But I thought his communication was excellent. There was one moment there in the game where he made a mistake. He went to control the ball just short of the halfway line, and then he instantly communicated with who needed to cover in behind. And that to me is a good sign for a young player, that they've got that level of maturity and football intellect to be able to communicate when they've made a mistake, and get their teammates around them to cover the other parts of the field that he would have been occupying. So I thought it was a pretty solid debut. And as you know, for a young player to come in, 5 minutes before the game, you're told you're going in because Murray picked up an injury in the warm-up. I thought he did really well, all things considered, Paul.
I think he did okay. I think he did better than okay. Stuart, he's a big boy, big both in stature and in strength as well. He's almost built like Carter Vickers, but almost like 6 inches taller. So you can tell he's got a lot of good attributes. But I think, again, getting thrown in there when he was scheduled to be in the bench tonight, dealt with everything relatively well. And if Dane Murray's came out with a thigh injury just before the game, you wouldn't expect him to be ready for Sunday at Ibrox in the Scottish Cup. So potentially Benjamin Arthur straight in again.
I mean, it does point to the lack of defensive reinforcements. I mean, it's a point we've made. There's no point in harping on about it. We know what it is. What height is he?
6. I don't know. I'm going to pass on that. I'm not going to.
No. But but he does look like tall, right? And tall
6'4",
players.
something like that.
It? Aye. Tall players often find that they have. It's almost like there's a bit of trouble coordinating yourself in the deck. And I think we saw that with a few of his touches tonight. I think he was a wee bit loose at times, but you're spot on, Chris. I think he showed good character. There was a point where after that wee bit of kind of missed control, you saw that could be the moment that his confidence begins to rock, whatever. but he looks capable, man. And I'm interested. I'd like to see him get a run in the team, if I'm honest, because I think there's somebody with his stature, match sharp, could be a good addition.
I think it was decent enough. Again, thrown in relatively difficult circumstances at the last minute. Bigger tests to come, bigger games to come. We'll see how he fares over a longer period. Chris, I thought. I mean, one of the commenters just referenced it there. One of the viewers, the substitutions made a big difference. Again, we seem stuck in this sort of in-between place where Martin O'Neill is constantly having to go to the bench to rely on subs. Tinekti and Hatate having a massive influence off the bench on Sunday at Ibrox. Hatate's in the team tonight. We've already touched on his performance. Tinekti in from the start again, not as effective as he was on Sunday. But then you look at Forrest coming on to decent effect, putting the ball in for Maeda's header at Ibrox that led to the penalty kick. And then again tonight he's off the bench to square it for Benjamin Nygren, who was another sub on the night and was in the right place at the right time again to sort of guide the cross home for another goal, another important goal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you watched the post-match. Chris Sutton says he doesn't know what Benjamin Nygren's best position is. I'll tell you what his best position is, putting the ball in the back of the net. And I mean, that's really all you can ask for from a midfielder. 15th league goal this season. That's just an incredible return. And look, he is a frustrating player because in the three that we had in midfield at Ibrox on Sunday, him and Oxlade-Chamberlain the game just passed them by in the first half. He isn't the dynamic player that's going to be able to boss a midfield and do that type of engine room running. But if you want a player to get into the advanced part of the pitch and have a nose for goal, that's him. I mean, that's an incredible return for a midfielder. And he can be very, very frustrating at times, but nobody can argue with the goal output and the impact I think he's had. And let's be honest, without his goals, where on earth would we be in the context of this season in terms of our league position? It would probably be below Motherwell.
For top six.
Yeah. I mean, it would be below Motherwell. We wouldn't even be in the top three, which is just shows you how bad our season has been, but how exciting a season it's been for Scottish football, right? We all know that this is a very poor Celtic team. We know there are systemic issues at the club, but we're not here to repeat all that. What we're in for in these last handful of games is a magnificent ride. And, you know, we do need Hearts to drop some points. Hopefully that comes in their next couple of games. They've got some tough games coming up. And then we know we have to probably play them at Celtic Park. We're going to have Rangers at Celtic Park. If we win those games, we may, and I say may, I'm not saying will, we may then be able to control the destiny. But all the teams are going to drop points, whether it's to one another or potentially against, other teams that finish in the top six. But what a tremendous, exciting time. And it's just going to be a fun ride. I don't doubt for 1 second we're going to have another helicopter Sunday.
Now, can I come in on that, actually? Because I think that's a really interesting point. I think if you have a society that isn't Scotland, right, then, and you are designing it for the viewer, right, you would have Helicopter Sunday on steroids, you'd have an Edinburgh derby, a Glasgow derby, and then have that seeing who wins the league, right? That's what you would do, innit? Right? But can you think of just the amount of police presence and stuff?
Imagine the inconvenience of that.
No, I know, right? I get that.
That's a joke, obviously.
Surely that. Well, I know, I get that, but it is an inconvenience to the public authorities, isn't it? So it would never happen. But I think what that does is it does two things. One, it says, right, the split can actually work. It can be really exciting if Celtic and Rangers are poor enough. And it also, or if other teams come up and challenge, right? But it's not been that. It's been done the way. But I would love us to get to a place societally that we could have something like that, because it could be, this could be a moment for Scottish football to really, really sell itself and actually maybe capture some new imagination, some new eyes, whatever. And I just don't think we'll make the most of what has been, as you quite rightly say, Chris, a really, really exciting season for neutrals. It's been like a bit rubbish for us, but
Aye, it has. Listen, who knows if it'll even get that far? I know that the nature of it right now feels like it will go right to the final kick, but who knows? Who knows? And what's the point in trying to predict for here? Sure, I was going to come back to you on Chrissy's point about Negrin's goals, and one of the reasons we've relied on Benjamin Negrin's goals is because I have to say again, for the 1000th time this season, the output from the strikers is absolutely abysmal. It's as poor a collection of strikers as I've ever seen, probably, at Celtic. Maybe there's a period towards, I don't know, maybe a period under Lennon towards the end, maybe Dyla as well, with the sort of Carlton Cole and Kazim Richards and those sorts of players. But, Fanchara comes back in to start tonight. I can't see it. I'm sorry, I can't see it. He's cumbersome. His play was his back to goal was he can maybe hold it up all right, but his next 2 or 3 touches trying to link the play aren't great. Again, he's not involved very much. Dies Maeda comes off the bench. Jack Milne absolutely gifts him on a plate, a 1-on-1, and he nearly hits the corner flag with it. I think they said in commentary after that, Dies Maeda has missed 20 what they call big chances in the Scottish Premiership this season, which is absolutely remarkable. It's difficult to get your head around that. The striker and the quality, the lack of quality in the striking department is killing us, has been killing us, and probably will continue to kill us.
Right, it's the position that they say is hardest to recruit for, right? And I think what you've seen is a football operation, whether it's got a head of one or not, a football operation that cannot recruit. What they'll do is they'll just, and like there was tweets to the effect of, which I can actually believe, of Celtic just saying, have you got anybody for loan, right, to clubs that they thought were maybe reputable enough to have players that could affect things at Celtic. And if that is the case, right, one, that's shameful, but two, what it leads to is not necessarily players that aren't good enough, but players that aren't the right players, signings that haven't been thought out, right? So Adamu comes in. What is he? Javan Chara comes in. What is he? Is he, or either of them, someone that can complement the options that we have already got? Or are they just a guy that you throw in and hope can be something? Javan Chara, I think there's something there, but I think he would need to play with a strike partner. I think he's a guy that would need to play in a 2. Adamu, I'm not sure, because I've seen some stuff that makes him, like the Stuttgart game, like was really impressive, and then disappeared under.
I don't know about really impressive though. It was a nice assist. He did really well for it, and there was 1 or 2 decent bits of hold up play. We talked about it after the game. 1 or 2 decent bits of hold up play. But I thought in a couple of domestic games and again at Ibrox at the weekend, he just floats about. He's no pressing. He's no coming short. He's no winning things in the air. I don't know, like you just alluded to, don't know what he is, don't know what his strengths are. Same as Fanchara. I can see loads of comments talking about putting Negrin up front. Somebody said put Tenecte up front.
Negrin's not out.
Kasper Schmeichel next. Just put Kasper Schmeichel up front and see if he can do any better. It's absolutely remarkable.
Negrin's not an out-and-out striker. I think he's another one that could play as like a kind of 4-4-1-1 type guy, maybe in the hole. I don't know. I'd love us to work out what his best position is, but I don't think he could lead the line. Dies Maeda. Now, I did say last season, whenever he touched on to goals in the second half of the season, right, the post-Kyogo hangover, I said, next year, that's going to level its sell out, and look what's happened. I think Brendan Rodgers' comments definitely did not help that in any way, because it's just a distraction for the player, and unnecessary and symptomatic of the way that Brendan Rodgers conducted himself in the way out of Celtic. Do you know, sorry, slight tangent, but everybody was raging when he went to Leicester. I understood when he went to Leicester. I was like, they've no given him money. He's been dragged you kicking and screaming to the Champions League twice by my centre half. And they didn't get to the Champions League, and he thought, oh, there's no ambition, right? Same again with Bayern Munich, but the difference is this time he just spat the dummy out before he left, so it was unacceptable for him.
Anyway,
and that, anyway, Dyson Maeda though has regressed to the point that again it shows why if we worked correctly as a football operation, you sell high on Dyson Maeda last year after all his pressing stats in the Champions League and genuine interest for
and 35 goals.
And 35 goals, right? So that's the time to sell on him. But instead, what's happening now is we're getting a player that's dragging his heels to the end of his Celtic spell, and we will get a pittance, if anything. So it is yet again more evidence. So it's not just buying players and bringing them in that we're inefficient at. We're inefficient at trading the other way as well. And that's it.
Aye, Chris, there's a couple of comments about Iheanacho there being the best striker that we've got. Huge concerns about the fitness of Iheanacho, but again, with the 2 injuries he's had earlier in the season, keep him out for a spell. But I think he's been on the bench, come off the bench in the 2 legs against Stuttgart, hasn't made a domestic squad. I can't help but wonder if there's a clause in his contract. I think it was a year with an option. I can't help but wonder if there's a clause in his contract that says if he's involved or if he starts so many league games or whatever, the option's automatically triggered. I mean, it's a stab in the dark here, right? But I've got no idea why, with the lack of quality that we've got up front, Iheanacho can't even make a bench when he's fit. It's just baffling to me. But anyway, I digress. That's another matter. We've won the game, Chris, tonight. A massive 3 points. We moved back to second place. We're 5 points behind Hearts. We got the game out of the way. It was the rearranged game. We didn't want it to end up causing issues for us. With it being moved into March during this hectic period, we've won it, and we're definitely still in there fighting. And I'm almost at the stage now, Chris, where I don't feel like, I mean, we've done it a bit tonight, but we're all longing for this comfortable win, for us to show a real sign of intent and go and win a game comfortably. I think that maybe the 2-0 game against Falkirk, which I don't know how long ago it is now, is the last time we won a domestic game by more than 1 goal. And I said at the top of the show, tonight being like 2-1 since like 70 minutes or whenever Negan's goal was, is the first game for about 4 or 5 weeks that we've not needed a goal going into the 88th or 89th minute or even later than that at times. But I think it is going to be a slog. There is no doubt that we haven't really seen anything from the team that gives you confidence we can go and do this. The next home games against Motherwell, we've talked, both of you alluded to the split and the big games that will come up in the split. The next league game's at home against Motherwell, and I'm not sure on form, this might sound ridiculous, I'm not sure Celtic are favourites for a home game against Motherwell.
I mean, I don't know whether the bookies would agree with you or not, Paul, but I don't know if I'll argue with you, to be honest. Like, they play the best football by far out of any team, by far. And that's a manager we should be taking a very, very close look at. My pal Colin in Burnt Island will be absolutely crushing me for saying that, because he is just loving what they're seeing out of Motherwell this year. But they play fantastic football, Paul, and I don't think on form I could really argue with you. Like, it would be a coin toss, I think, would be maybe a fair way to look at it. Many Celtic fans would say, no, we're at home. We should absolutely win that game. Well, would they have said the same thing when we played Hibs at home the other weekend and we got beat 2-1? So that is a huge game, and every game is huge. I think to answer your opening statement before this section, Paul, you were like, when was the last time we had a comfortable game? It was under Martin O'Neill when he came back. We won 4-0 against Dundee United. Since then, I don't think we have won a game.
Was that the 10th of January, was that? Something like that?
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible, Paul. The every single game has been tight, and the squad and the starting 11 and the rotation of what is essentially 13 or 14 players dictates that every game we have right now is probably going to be a 1-goal game the whole way down this running stretch here. I don't expect anything different, which is not going to be good for the health. But I do expect that that's how it's going to play out. I don't think we have enough quality to be able to blow teams away. Like, for example, if we beat Motherwell 2-0 at home, that's a tremendous result. That is a tremendous result. When was the last time we went a league game without conceding a goal? Dundee United 4-0 is probably the same result.
Maybe the 2-0 game against Falkirk, which was maybe a week or so later, fortnight later.
Yeah, but like we've gone over a month at least without keeping a clean sheet in the league. It's just, like we are hanging on by the thinnest of threads when it comes to this title race. We've obviously jumped up into second place. I'm absolutely delighted with the result. I'm not going to gloss over the fact that we're still a very poor side that has a lot of frailties. But in terms of their character and their ability to find a way to win games, I give them 10 out of 10 for that, because they have won games recently where I just couldn't believe that we continuously did it. Dundee in the Cup, then we did it to Kilmarnock, we did it to St Mirren, we did it. It's just a Livingston with Oxley Chamberlain. Like, it's just incredible what we've done over the last 6 weeks to somehow still be in this title race. It's not in our own hands, so we're going to need some help, and Hearts are going to go through the biggest test of their ball in the next 3 weeks. That is for sure. And if they are still in first place going into the last 5 games, they would have to be considered favourites. For sure.
I think they're favourites now. I think Hearts are probably marginally favourites now. Now, 100%. the thing just on what you're talking about there in terms of the performances and getting over the line and 10 out of 10 for the spirit, and somebody just referenced that we've had 3 difficult away games in 6 days. We've won 2 of them, drawn the other one. That's right. There's also people talking about the magic of Martin O'Neill and how that gets underestimated. I mean, that is what we're going with here. We are going with the magic of Martin O'Neill. That is the thing that we're crossing our fingers and hoping that will get us over the line. It could well be a situation like 2007, 2008, Stuart, where I think Motherwell will beat us at home, funnily enough. I mean, I'm not saying Motherwell are going to beat us in a fortnight's time, but I think we lost 1-0 to Motherwell at home, and then we had to win every single game that was left between then and the end of the season. I think there was 7 or 8 games left. That was the year that Tommy Burns passed away. We won the title at Tannadice. We beat Rangers in those back-to-back derbies at Celtic Park, 3-2 and 2-1. And I remember it vividly being a slog. It was a slog. There was a lot of late goals, but we ground it out. We ground one after one out, and it was enough to get us over the line. Maybe that's what we'll do. Listen, maybe that is what we'll do. But to come back to the point, just to get your thoughts on it, Stuart, Motherwell have had a lot of plaudits, rightly so. It's grown as the season's gone on. I think the way they're playing, the number of clean sheets they're keeping, the number of goals they're conceding, and the way they're controlling games of football is unlike probably anything that we've seen from a team that isn't Celtic in this league for a long, long time. They control games of football better than we do. Would you say that Celtic are favourites going into that game in 10 days' time? Because it's at home?
Aye.
Maybe?
Aye. Do you know, that was the determination I was making. I was thinking if it's Fir Park, probably no. But aye, no, I think we're at home, and it's no often that, I mean, the idea of getting turned over again is, aye, it seems unfathomable, but this has been a season that just keeps defying your expectations, like in good ways and bad at times. I can't remember a season like this. You're right to make the parallel with the slog. That was the Jan Venegura Hesselink goal, wasn't it? I remember that well.
The night game.
Aye. Really, really cool way to do it.
See if we get it over the line, it will be remarkable. It'll be a mental celebration, because for all the world, multiple times it's looked like we're never going to get it done. It'd be one of the best celebrations of a league title you could remember. Because of the nature.
And Martin O'Neill as well, like with the commenters you're saying, like, I've said it a couple of times, but I'll say it again. If he resurrects us twice in one season and takes us to the title, then for me, that's better than Seville. You could argue in terms of just his managerial acumen, because like the fact that he had like, that squad of players then obviously contributed to that. I mean, will I remember it as favourably as Seville? Maybe not, but as a managerial achievement, unbelievable. And I know we get beaten Seville, but the run there was spectacular. It's my favourite experience as a Celtic fan. And aye, like I am so thankful that man came back again, and he is a motivational master. And see the old school rudiments of football. He better, by the way, he better get a statue. See the old school rudiments of management. Pick the best team, pick a formation to win, and motivate your team to go out and win the game. He's amazing at that. Like, he is one of the best in the business at that. Modern coaching and methods and like pressing drills and XG, no, right? Old school football management, a master.
Aye, absolutely, absolutely. Chris, we go back to Ibrox on Sunday in the Scottish Cup. We'll have a full Broomloan stand of Celtic supporters for the first time in I don't know how many years. Was it 2018 the last time that happened, when we won 3-2 at Ibrox with 10 men? That's a tantalising prospect in itself for the occasion, for the atmosphere of the game. How do you feel about it after last weekend? How the game went, winning tonight, and then obviously going into that game on Sunday?
Well, I think we're carrying a bit more confidence going into the game. I think that's fair to say. But will Martin O'Neill have learned anything about how he sets the team up in terms of what starting 11 he goes for is one thing I'm dead curious to see. As much as it pains me, I would go with Maeda through the middle. I really would, because really we need to look to tactically play the way we did in the second half, which is having Hatate there as another option to get the ball through Rangers' press. That's what really helped us in the second half. Watching a great tactical breakdown of the game, it was very clear that Rangers kind of stood off a little bit as well, which was to their own detriment because they let us play out. I thought their pressing was tremendous in the first half, and that's something we've actually really struggled with this year, as our press is very, very poor off the ball. So I think we'll go into the game confident. What makes it unique is, yes, having a full stand is going to be incredible. The noise and the color will just be unbelievable. But it's a cup game, right? There's not the pressure of the league in terms of, like, we couldn't afford to lose at Ibrox on Sunday in the league. I'm not saying we can afford to lose or I want to lose, but in the context of the season, maybe there's a little more pressure off. Sinisalo absolutely needs to keep his place. I couldn't care less if Schmeichel is healthy or not. Sinisalo, Schmeichel does not make that save tonight. We didn't really cover that in the breakdown of the game. Like, Schmeichel does not make that save to his left with his shoulder injury that he's carrying. That was at 1-1 in the game. That was a crucial moment in the game. So it's all to play for. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me if it's a cracking tie, 2-2, 3-3, extra time, penalties. Like, honestly, I would not be surprised if it's that kind of game. Both teams can leak goals. Both teams can score goals. Even though we don't really have a striker that I trust right now, I would definitely start Maeda for sure in the game, because I think that's the lesser of all the evils. And if Iheanacho could be fit, I'd love to see him on the bench to give us a legitimate striker that can hold up the ball, bring the midfield into the game, because that is one element of our play that is sadly missing. It's going to be an incredible, afternoon, right? It really will be. I mean, full stand, all the colour, all the noise. Let's be having it.
Aye, looking forward to it. Stuart, I've kind of finished, or I've made reference at the end of the last couple of videos, full-time reactions. I just want to pick up this comment about getting the fans back in. and getting that sorted for the Motherwell game, try and get a better atmosphere about the place. Today, I saw a video again, ironically enough, because we're talking about Motherwell, the Motherwell chairman giving an update to their supporters on different projects they're working on, everything that the football club is doing. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if the Celtic board could do our supporters the same courtesy of letting them know what's happening at the football club, what projects are being worked on, are the operational issues that have been laid bare left, right and centre this season, what are the actions that are being taken to clear them up. And then, of course, I was almost saying it in jest because I know it's Celtic and they could not care less about actually communicating what's happening to the supporters. It's almost like an inconvenience for them. But they're about to ask season ticket holders in the next, I don't know, will it be 3, 4, 6 weeks? There'll be season ticket renewals and they'll ask us again for 600 quid, 700 quid, £1,000, whatever your season ticket might be. And they'll probably do that without having told us where the football club's going, what the plan is in the summer, giving us an update about where we're at. And the thing that lets you know that is they've had these decisions that have been easy to make for months and months and months and months, and they've dragged them on. And here we are. Are we going to get the fans back in for Motherwell? Are we going to get some action of unity on the board's behalf instead of just words? Or are they going to keep dragging it out? I think that's the only thing that's to be decided between now and next weekend.
Well, listen, I think it's absolutely vital that happens, because the atmosphere at Celtic away games is a million times better than at home games, even European ones at the moment. So if that's the case, then that has to change. One of the biggest marketable things when you're trying to recruit players to Celtic is come and play in front of these fans, right? If that comes with the asterisk only away from home, it completely changes that equation. Expect nothing from the board. The only thing that, as you were saying that there, that my brain kind of did, is I thought, so I expect Roberto Martinez to be the next Celtic manager. Maybe they announced that. The cynic in me says that that's maybe the one ploy that they've got, if that was over the line, to try and at least inject some excitement. Because I think they'd be more interested in doing that to secure the money than caring about the impact that had on the run-out.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that, even if that is the case, I don't think it'll be announced before the World Cup, because if he's going to leave or whatever it comes to an end at Portugal, if it is going to come to an end, he'll probably want to keep his options open. It's going to be interesting to see how it progresses. That is it for this evening. Thank you for joining us on this live stream. Thank you for bearing with us. You'll probably notice that we've been playing about with a new software as well. So I think it's gone by relatively pain-free. We'll see you at the weekend for the build-up to that Scottish Cup tie at Ibrox. Thank you.